be installing OspreyHost Server version 12.8.105. The installation process for the 12.8.105 line of Osprey software has changed significantly, therefore we are updating the videos accordingly. Today we will be installing on a Windows 11 virtual machine. The machine is a clean install of Windows 11 with only Google Chrome, Microsoft PowerToys, and the appropriate Windows updates loaded on it. To start, we're going to obtain the OspreyHost Server version 12.8.105 from the Osprey POS Dropbox site, which we have right here. Now we're going to right-click on it and run as administrator. Couple of notes. For the startup to commence, it will take slightly longer than in prior versions. That is because the full install of OpenEdge is now embedded in this installation, which means you no longer have to install OpenEdge on its own, thus greatly simplifying the installation. At this point, I have a user account control pop-up. Depending on your settings on your system, you may or may not see this. In my case, yes, I want to run the installation. I'm going to go ahead and start it. In addition to the full install of OpenEdge being embedded, the installations for Java, .NET, and several other things are also included. Therefore, everything that is needed for an installation is included in this one install package. Nothing else is needed. At this point, I can start my installer. I click Next. I read through my license agreement. I accept it when I'm finished. I click Next. We ignore this disable PASOE and Apache. That is for testing and such, and is not relevant in a live environment. So I click Next. At this point, I'm ready to install. I click Install. It will now start uncompressing files and then physically running the installation. As was previously mentioned, the OpenEdge installation is included in this. So once the file compression is done, it will proceed to load the Java, which is required, and then OpenEdge. No longer these separate steps. No longer do you have to fumble about for license codes, etc. All of this is now embedded into the installer. Our file copy is nearly finished. Here we go. It's going to start by installing the Java runtime environment for use with OspreyHost and OpenEdge. Now it's extracting the .NET installer with the version of .NET that is required. Now the OpenEdge installation is ready to begin. This installation is fully scripted, therefore no choices have to be made, no boxes have to be checked, no license keys need to be entered. It will install everything that is needed to operate OspreyHost in this case, or Osprey POS if that was the installation being performed. While the installation will seem lengthier than in prior versions, and it in fact is, with all the software embedded, you're saving a significant amount of time. Testing side by side, this is several percentage points faster than prior installs, while also reducing the need to download and maintain other files, as well as preventing common mistakes such as downloading the wrong version of OpenEdge, etc. Additionally, this installer contains the updater for the OspreyHost client. That is similar to what was done in the past via the Progress web client. However, while we are still using the web client software itself for the clients, we are no longer using the web client packager and the IntelliStream. Osprey instead has created their own installation updater, which will be distributed. The upsides to this are many. Number one, size. Number two, speed. Number 3, we can now update things that cannot be updated in the past easily, such as certain assemblies and the like. At this point, most of the installation is done. It's now down to trivial things such as installing the SQL ODBC drivers for OpenEdge. Those are not natively used by OspreyHost, but they do facilitate a way for third parties to connect in and view the database. Now it's back to finishing up the OpenEdge install. As you can see at this point, our icons have been created. Now it's going through scripting to actually configure everything. While it's doing so, a quick primer on the icons. This is the host. You can access it via shared memory. Generally, Osprey Retail advises that you go ahead and load the client and access it that way, but you can do this. The traditional Sonic sender and receiver, if you're not using Sonic MQ and instead using the newer Kafka solution, you can delete these icons. Here we have the back over here, because I have UAC on, it's prompting me to allow Apache to run. That is for downloading client updates, so we do want to allow that. Okay, back over here, the Kafka. This is a newer technology that is been implemented, is sort of a replacement for Sonic. Sonic has gotten to the point it's virtually a deprecated product. Kafka is cloud-based, which simplifies configuration. So again, if you're using Sonic still, you can delete the Kafka icons. And lastly, we have the email app server. If you're sending emails for anything, reports, errors, customer emails, etc., you'll want that on and running. Okay, over here we have an open JDK option. We do want to allow that access, and again, you can go back and tweak the firewall exactly how you like it. Now it's registering our PASOE app server and converting it to a service, and we are finished. So I'm going to click finish. And typically, I say typically, virtually always on a fresh install, it is going to prompt for a reboot. So we're going to go ahead and let that happen, and I will see you back here shortly. Okay, and we're back after a restart and logging in. So just for a quick verification that everything installed correctly, I'm going to double click on the host icon over here and let it start up. We'll get our splash screen, and then we'll get our login. The default login is, as always, Unify Host 1966. And depending on when you're installing, it may prompt you directly for a password change, but even if it doesn't, we strongly recommend it. As you can see, we have our traditional layout over on the left, our menu, and then our screen. We do have a new favorite section over on the right that will be touched on in a separate video. But just to take a look at a sample screen, if we wanted to go into, let's go into system parameters. It comes up just as it always did. And when we're finished, we can simply close out of here, and that's that. If you have any questions, please reach out to your reseller or to Osprey Retail, and have a good day.